A lot of absolute nonsense occurred over this past weekend when it comes to the Antifa riots springing up in the Democrat blue cities across America. President Donald Trump is cleaning up these cities. Now, however, he's being sued for it. I'm going to cover actually multiple of those lawsuits right here on American Advocates. Also, Governor J.B. Pritzker taking to broadcast networks and openly pretty much defending Antifa, telling Kristi Noem that she's not needed, ICE is not needed in Chicago, the federal government is not needed in Chicago, everything is just sunshine and rainbows there according to him, and he wants them out of his city. I'll cover that as well. And then finally, this scandal that occurred with Jay Jones, a Democrat Virginia State Attorney General candidate, running alongside the Democrat governor candidate for Virginia, who had some unfortunate text messages released to the public. These ones will shock you, and it has to deal with his Republican rival and what he truly thinks of him. I'll cover all of that and a little bit more right here, right now on American Advocates.
You want to hit women? You want to hit women? You want to hit women? That's not worth it. Keep your hands off me. Keep your hands off me. Keep your hands off me. You're a fucking coward. Get them out of here. Get this fucker fucking coward. I didn't touch you. You're a fucking coward. Get them out of here.
All right, Portland PD's moving in now, separating the crowd. You okay? What happened there?
He just running up like he was going to beat me up. He said, I touched a woman. I didn't touch no woman. I told her not to touch me, and I called her a bitch. She touched my camera, and I said, don't touch me again, bitch. And they're trying to say that I hit a woman.
Thomas, you know you are a target tonight wearing the MAGA cap and the Charlie Kirk Freedom shirt.
Yes, sir. I don't give a fuck. I'm not scared of none of these cowards.
Wow, okay. Well, look, strong Portland police presence. They're trying to separate the crowd right now. One of several skirmishes Sunday evening in front of the Portland ICE facility. But we'll see where this ends up going. But again, Nick Shorter here on the ground, Portland PD, multiple independent journalists from outside of Portland here covering all of the action.
You can see going on down on the ground there, things were heating up in Portland over the weekend. I tuned into numerous different live streams on the ground reporting from people like Nick Shorter there and others. And it was fascinating to watch. It was also infuriating to watch, as I just think that, in all honesty, the federal law enforcement, the ICE agents, etc., are not doing enough, in my honest opinion, when it comes to just making targeted arrests on these Antifa members and doing a better job of quelling the violence. It just seems like they really have to sit there and take it a little too much for my liking. However, their job is not easy, and that is in large part due to the Portland Police Department, which, in my opinion, is completely corrupt. Completely. Like, I'm not speaking in terms of hyperbole here. I genuinely believe this department is corrupt to its core. Either they're being funded by the same people funding Antifa, or for some reason, they're just hell-bent on following destructive Democrat orders when it comes to not dealing with violent Antifa members all across the city. I mean, look at this. What I'm about to show you here is footage of just a Portland citizen, a law-abiding Portland citizen driving their car, trying to turn onto a street that has been fully occupied by Antifa members. And of course, Portland police officers are nearby. What do you think they do about this? Do they get out into the street and tell Antifa to move over, let the car through? No. Take a look at what they actually do in this circumstance.
You guys gonna do anything about this? What are you doing? That way. Do not go to the crowd of people. If you go to this crowd of people, you will be stopped and arrested. Thank you. Do not try and play that game with me right now. Man, do not play that game with me right now. We're not going to a crowd of people in this car. Back it up and take a left. If you go to this crowd of people, you will be arrested. Ma'am, I am telling you, if you go to this crowd of people, you will be arrested. All right, get out of the way. I'll take care of it. Get out of the way. I'll take care of it. Get off my hand. You're not going to be I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. Back up and take a left. You can get through and get out that way. You're not going this way. Back up. If you're not going to listen to my orders, then it's your choice. I am giving you an order right now. Back this vehicle up. It is a public road, but right now there are people occupying it. A car does not supersede people.
The federal government gonna get in there and punch your ass. Watch me get this lady out of here. All these motherfuckers, and you can't get this lady out of here. You're fucking incompetent. You're all a bunch of losers.
So much infuriating and tragic irony taking place at that scene right there. It's honestly disgusting to watch happen. The Portland police, yes, in case you couldn't hear, were threatening the woman, the citizen, the law-abiding citizen who's simply driving her car on the streets, that her taxpayer dollars go towards supporting, creating, and maintaining. And what happens? She goes to make a right turn onto a street occupied by Antifa, and the Portland police run up to her car and scream at her like she's a criminal, telling her if she continues to drive towards that direction, she'll be arrested just for driving. There's a crowd of people in the street. She cannot drive on that street. So this law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, presumably, I'm presuming this, maybe she's a criminal herself. Maybe she hasn't paid a dime in taxes her entire life. I don't know. But you would assume. You would assume. I'm assuming, so granted. But she is then told to make a left-hand turn instead, and now she must go out of her way to find her own detour to get to whatever location she's trying to get to. All the while, mind you, in the background, you can hear the Antifa members that the police are actively defending in this situation, yelling at the police saying, "You can't even get one woman out of here. You're so incompetent." The ones who hate the police are being defended by the police. The ones like this woman who I would presume have either defended the police or support the police at the very least, or at the very, very least are probably neutral to the police. She's the target. She's the one being told, you must go. You're about to be a criminal if you drive through this crowd of people who are blocking the way and actively threatening you while you're trying to drive and head to your location and actively telling us we're doing a shit job. But never mind that. We're going to arrest you if you don't turn your car around right now. That's what's going on in Portland. That's why President Donald Trump is taking action on these cities, despite all of the liberal outrage going on around it. And, let's not forget about Nick Sortor, that independent conservative journalist. I follow him on X, and you should too. He does great independent journalism work. And, he was arrested for stopping Antifa members from burning an American flag, which he, of course, was assaulted over doing. Unfortunately, that part wasn't caught on camera. I can't find any footage of it, but according to eyewitness reports, along with his own, he was shoved down onto a flower bed, and they were balling up their fists like they were about to start punching him, so he started trying to fight them back. Portland police saw this, and they decided to arrest Nick Sortor. He wound up going to jail for something like 12 hours. So conservative independent journalists are getting arrested. Citizens aren't allowed to drive on their own roads, and the police are defending Antifa. This is what he had to say about it on the Ingram angle here. This is Nick Sortor being interviewed. Take a look at this particular part of the clip I thought was the most fascinating, where he's describing all of this.
Called on them. What is your perspective on this? Do you think that the police knew who you were, arrested you because of it, or do you think that you were just the last one kind of swinging there and that's why they grabbed you?
Well, considering the fact that that they don't arrest anybody here ever, especially, down here you saw Katie Davis court with that black eye that she got. The police followed the assailant and did nothing. They just let them go. Right now, all of a sudden they change it when I am here, when a conservative journalist is on the ground, exposing what's actually going on. Is that just a coincidence? How did that just happen all of a sudden? I mean, it's I don't really think it is a coincidence, unfortunately, Joey. But because I didn't have very glowing reviews for them on Laura's show last night when I was here, and it took them over an hour to figure out what the charge was. They arrested me. They put me in the back of the police car. We parked on the side of the road for a while. And then after about an hour, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll charge him with disorderly conduct. So, which is, if what I was doing is disorderly, what do you call people with megaphones at 3 o'clock in the morning, lighting fires in the middle of the street?
Like I said, absolute corruption. That is unfortunately the accurate depiction of what the Portland Police Department currently is. Corrupt. Defending Antifa and standing against justice. It's absolutely despicable, and something at a deeper level, in my opinion, needs to be done about it. The DOJ, the Trump DOJ, needs to do something about it. The entire Portland Police Department needs to be investigated over this. And I know Pam Bondi said that that's what they were going to do, especially because Nick Sortor was unjustifiably arrested over nonsense, basically. But they need to come through and get results during this investigation, and changes need to be made because this is inexcusable in America. And also when it comes to the Department of Justice and justice in general, this is going on right here, right now. President Donald Trump, of course, is trying to send in the National Guard to Portland, but go figure, he's been blocked once again by a low-level district court judge. This is Karen Immergut. I think that's how you say her name, and truthfully, she's not worthy enough of my respect to even bother to look up how to say her last name, but it's Immergut. Karen Immergut. You'll notice, that sounds German to me, I could be wrong on that, but you'll notice it's, for some reason, it seems to be a lot of these German names. Bosenberg or whatever his name was, Boasberg. A lot of these low-level district court judges have German last names and are actively defying President Donald Trump and trying to roadblock him along the way when it comes to fulfilling the agenda that he was literally voted in for. This is democracy being interrupted. And this is what she had to say. This was her ruling. You can see here, case 3:25 CV01756, document 68, filed October 5th, 2025, in the United States District Court for the District of Oregon. Second temporary restraining order, plaintiffs versus Donald Trump in his official capacity as President of the United States, Pete Hegseth in his official capacity as Secretary of Defense, U.S. Department of... Wait a minute, they got this wrong. It's Secretary of War now. U.S. Department of Defense Kristi Noem in her official capacity as Secretary of Homeland Security and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. This court grants the plaintiffs a second motion for a temporary restraining order and orders as follows. Defendants are temporarily enjoined from deploying federalized members of the National Guard in Oregon. This second temporary restraining order expires by its own terms in 14 days. Defendants request to stay or administratively stay this second temporary restraining order, which was raised in the hearing on plaintiff's second motion for temporary restraining order, is denied. And what are the key takeaways of this judge's ruling on all of this? Well, her TRO has been expanded now to prohibit the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, from relocating any National Guard into the state of Oregon. So she is trying to cover all bases here because she's not just simply trying to stop him from deploying National Guard in Oregon, but she's trying to stop Trump from employing his strategy of relocating other National Guard from around the country to Oregon. And this is just a ridiculous judicial overstep that we're seeing time and time again, to the point of where I personally am sick of it. I am sick of this shit because this is just a gross overreach by the Democrats at this point. But President Donald Trump takes it upon himself to follow the courts and follow the judicial system. So he complies. And in my opinion, he does so to his detriment now, because this could be costing lives, what this judge is doing. And Elon Musk tweeted this and he agrees. He even states here, if any judge anywhere can block every presidential order everywhere, we do not have a democracy. We have tyranny of the judiciary. And that's completely correct. What are we doing here? This is the commander-in-chief moving military men. It is his executive right to do so, and he has complete executive control over this. These little low-level district court judges have no right. And at this point, I literally advocate, as the American advocate here on this channel, I advocate that the president starts ignoring these low-level district court peon judges who are the last line of defense for the corrupt and wicked, disgusting, evil liberal Democrat Party that are trying to defy him at every turn. This is their last thin line of defense they have against the will of the people, who ultimately wound up electing President Donald Trump in a true red wave fashion. All 7 swing states, the popular vote, the Electoral College, and every single state in America back in November voted more conservative. Every state, including California and New York, saw a bigger shift to the right. The people have spoken, and Trump is acting on his mandates. The liberals hate, they hate hearing that term, mandate. They hate it. He's acting on his mandate according to the will of the people, at least the majority of the people who voted, like myself. This is how democracy works. And now, at this point, these low-level judges are standing in the way of democracy. And it is upon now, in my opinion, Congress, Speaker Mike Johnson, and our other elected officials to do something about this. They need to step in and get rid of these judges, impeach them, and remove them from their positions. Because they are treasonous traitors now at this point. And lives are at risk when you have these moron judges. Let's not forget about Boasberg back then and all of his injunctions, but also now this Karen Immergut. Lives are at risk. Portland is a hellhole full of violence, and Trump is trying to stop it. The Portland police are doing nothing. He wants to send the National Guard in, and you have a judge telling the president no. And lives now could be lost because of it. She needs to be impeached as a judge and removed. I am not here on this channel to simply complain and grandstand against the Democrats like everyone else does, including some of our own elected officials or appointed officials. I can't stand anymore sometimes how I go on Twitter, X, and I see all of these posts, these social media posts from Republicans whining and crying like little about all of this shit that's happening to them that the Democrats are doing that are grimy and scummy and corrupt. Do something about it. That's what I want. That's what everybody who voted in President Donald Trump wants. We want action, not just crying and whining. Look how bad remember this for the midterms. Don't vote in Democrats because look how they're treating us. You have the power right now. So use it. Here's a great example of somebody that knows how to use it, at least to some degree. Governor Greg Abbott, Texas. Look what he's doing. And this is in part, his actions are in part why this low-level district court judge has done what she has done, expanding the rule of her TRO to prohibit the relocation of the National Guard, because Greg Abbott sees what's going on with these Democrat-run states who are run by governors who are refusing to clean up their cities and refusing to cooperate with Trump. So Greg Abbott steps in and says, here, borrow some of my Texas National Guard. So he has now allocated 400 total National Guardsmen from Texas to be dispersed to the cities of Chicago and Portland. I love that. That's called going on the offensive, beating the Democrats at their own game. Now, this low-level district court judge, Karen Immergut, her ruling against the literal president of the United States will not stand. Everyone knows this, but this is just typical. It's like that little fly that keeps landing on your skin. It's getting to the point now where it keeps landing on Trump and we keep seeing him swatted away. But it's getting to the point where I want Trump to get out of the chair, grab the fly swatter, and swat the fly. And I mean that proverbially. Impeach these judges. And that's not on Trump to do. I understand that. But the Republicans are in control right now. Grab the proverbial fly swatter and swat these judges off the bench. Impeach them. Remove them. That's what needs to be done. Every single judge in the past this year and going forward who tries this should be impeached and removed from their position. That's how you stop this from happening, because it's ridiculous that it's happening at all. The other way you stop this is, of course, like I said, ignore these judges. Ignore them. They're low-level district court judges, and when they step in and impede the president from wielding the military, which is by far one of his most prominent duties, one of his most prominent rights to do as president, commander-in-chief, well, we have a serious problem. And this is another part of the equation right here, too, on the ground level. This is what I like to see, and I need to see more of this as a voter. This is what happens when you have strong leadership come in, take charge, and start acting on behalf of what the weak leadership should be doing. Federal agents are now walking right up to Antifa members and arresting them, and they're making targeted, precise arrests, which I like even better. Take a look at this. Drag him away like the filth that he is. I want you also to take note of something here. This is another side note, and I do really need to just buckle down and make a video about this, but you hear this narrative all the time from liberals, including the people who are dressed like this. A lot of them don't want you to believe that Antifa is an organization. It's just an idea. Antifascista, don't you know your history on Italy and the fascist regime? We all know. But you know, I always say this in response to that. White supremacy is just an idea. Yet the KKK exists. And they say this too. Well, if you're against anti-fascism, what does that make you? It's not that we're against the idea of anti-fascism, but what it is we're against Antifa being a domestic terrorist group that is absolutely an organization. What's my point in all this? Well, notice this. Let me rewind this a little bit even. Now, maybe these two guys are just friends, and that's why they've coordinated on their gear, but I mean, this guy, let me see if I can find, there, he's got, what is that, a gas mask on? And a helmet, right? So it almost looks like a military grade helmet with the gas mask. And it looks like a pretty good gas mask too, doesn't it? Right? Let me see other angles. Yeah, it's hard to see, but you can see it. He's wearing protection here, gas masks and militarized equipment. And then they marched the other guy after him too, right here. And what does he have on? Oh, look at that. Another military grade helmet. At least that's what it looks like to me, right? But they're not an organization. They're just an idea. And these are just citizen protesters. Give me a break. And these two people are not the only example of this. Go watch any live footage that's been uploaded all over the place from multiple different sources of independent journalists on the ground, bravely recording everything that's happening in their cities, Portland, Chicago, etc. You'll see this. This is a theme with a lot of these people. They're dressed in all black, they have military gear on, and they have gas masks, and they seem coordinated. This is not just an idea. This is absolutely an organization, and I have seen overwhelming proof of that being a fact, that it's an organization and a domestic terrorist organization at that. And I will make a video on this because they need to be exposed. This liberal narrative that's once again a lie. It's no different than the lie of, Islam's the religion of peace. Antifa's just an idea. It's not an organization. Nobody's buying it, but the problem is the liberals spread that false narrative everywhere like they do with everything else, and they parrot it like the good little boys and girls and sheep that they are for their media overlords who want them to parrot that narrative. It's a lie. And anybody with two eyeballs, or even just one eyeball, should be able to see that plain as day when you see what they're wearing and how they're structured and what they've been doing. And while I would say thank God the National Guard is finally doing something about it and are making targeted arrests on Antifa members, it seems like a lot of them are wearing this militarized gear. It's still not all sunshine and rainbows, because look at this, a Reuters article from yesterday published at 10 a.m. Newsom says he will sue Trump for sending California National Guard to Oregon. So not only do we have the low-level district court judge blocking Trump from relocating National Guard into Oregon, but because he's already done that, Newsom now has his panties in a bunch, and he wants to sue the president of the United States over using the California National Guard and sending them into Oregon. And again, this is why Governor Greg Abbott of Texas had to go in with his 400 National Guard and give them over to Trump for use as well, because you have uncooperative Democrat governors who are refusing to not only clean up their cities, but to help Trump at a national level clean up America and make it safer. He wants to sue Trump over this. And he's sued Trump over the use of the National Guard in the past as well. And while he won on, surprise, surprise, the low-level district court level, he ultimately has wound up losing when it comes to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has ordered a stay. And the whole thing with that is these low-level district courts will need to be exhausted, going back and forth on the appeal process now for quite a while before it can finally just go to the Supreme Court, where they're going to overturn it and rule in Trump's favor, because he's the commander-in-chief dealing with a domestic terrorist threat. But won't stop Gavin Newsom from trying. This is actually all part of his tweet that he proudly shared. Take a look, where he states, breaking, we're suing Donald Trump. That's President Donald Trump to you, Gavin, a title you'll never have. His deployment of the California National Guard to Oregon isn't about crime. It's about power. He is using our military as political pawns to build up his own ego. It's appalling. It's un-American. And it must stop. And in the words of President Donald Trump, fat slob Governor J.B. Pritzker saw that Governor Gavin Newsom is suing President Donald Trump over the relocation of the California National Guard into Oregon, and he's apparently also decided as of this morning to also sue the president. He states in a tweet here, Illinois is taking the Trump administration to court for their unlawful and unconstitutional deployment of military troops to our state. Thank you, Attorney General Raul, for helping defend the rule of law. And of course, Governor J.B. Pritzker, he loves his media attention. He's been trying to lose some weight, so he likes being on TV more and more, because when he's on camera, he now only looks like he weighs 300 pounds instead of 400 pounds. So maybe that's why he's been on TV more and more than ever, even though he sounds completely stupid every time he's on. any form of network saying anything at all. But here he is talking about President Donald Trump, talking about Kristi Noem, telling literally Kristi Noem to get out of Chicago. ICE is not needed there.
The secretary doesn't know what she's talking about. She frankly says that people are clapping. They're not. They're booing her on the street, and they're booing ICE and CBP. They're marching, the CBP marching on a beautiful Sunday in Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago. They're raiding neighborhoods where instead of going after the bad guys, they're just picking up people who are brown and black and then checking their credentials. Are you a U.S. citizen? I don't know about you, but I don't carry around papers that say I'm a U.S. citizen. So you can imagine people are getting detained. They're getting arrested, U.S. citizens. And they did this, of course, when they raided a building in the middle of the night in South Shore. 130 people that were emptied out of this building. They were going after a few gang members, and instead they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied. Elderly people held for 3 hours at a time. They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago. If they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do, they need to get the heck out.
This idiot, who's a governor of an entire state, has the nerve to go on CNN and state that law enforcement officials, whether you want to accept the fact that ICE is essentially law enforcement, they're straight up law enforcement. He says law enforcement officials, ICE, are the ones making it a war zone. That's like an oxymoron. It's impossible. Law enforcement is there to bring law and order. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. This is what we voted for. I certainly voted for what ICE is doing. That's why Trump is our president. And he is acting on a mandate to deport as many illegal immigrants out of America as possible. Yet, in the eyes of these disgusting Democrat governors, they're the ones turning their cities into a war zone. Well, I have some facts, data, and statistics that I'm going to share with you about cities like Chicago, for instance, in just a couple minutes here. But first and foremost, I just want to show you video evidence, video proof that it's not ICE turning their cities into a war zone. It's actually Antifa, or just Chicago residents in general, who can tell at this point. But they want to talk about ICE breaking down doors and windows. Antifa's lighting fires in streets, and they're even going so far now as to actively chase ICE agents in their vehicles. Take a look. You can see that's the ICE truck, and these are all Antifa members blowing through a red light, mind you. That's four cars, 4 vehicles, a 5th one. 5 total vehicles full of Antifa members. One guy even hanging out of the sunroof, screaming profanities at the ICE agents trying to drive away, chasing them through the town, blowing through red lights at an intersection. You can see there the 5th one almost ramming into the car, probably a regular citizen. This is in Chicago. But J.B. Pritzker's fat face is on CNN saying, we don't need Kristi Noem, we don't need ICE, we don't need law and order, everything's fine here. And truthfully, it got even worse than that. This story also broke over the weekend where they're not just chasing these ICE agents and harassing them, which, by the way, again, I can't emphasize this enough. The Trump administration, I voted for them. Overall, I'm thrilled. They're too soft. When an ICE vehicle like that is being pursued by Antifa members, we need National Guard. We need more federal agents in these cities to be able to respond to that call. They then need to surround all 5 of those vehicles, introduce every person in those vehicles, introduce their face to the concrete, their hands behind their back, arrest them, drag them away to be processed in jail where they can await a court appearance and face years in prison. That's how you handle those situations. And when you're too soft on them and you don't handle them that way, the intensity and the violence ramps up, like in this story here. This story broke over the weekend where a woman wielding a semi-automatic assault rifle, from the reports that I've heard at least, some sort of firearm, in a vehicle, and it appears with a boyfriend of some sort, took to ramming into the back of an ICE vehicle and then getting out with the gun. The ICE agents actually had to shoot her. She survived, and now she's in huge trouble. But this was caught on footage. This is the alleged footage. I'm getting some conflicting reports on this, but this is the alleged footage of that happening. I mean, take a look at that. It's just, she's just ramming the ICE vehicle off the road through the construction zone. This is apparently where an ICE agent gets out. You can see him after them. He's got his guns drawn. I mean, it became a big deal here. You can see all of this. The vehicle's trying to escape. Pretty insane. That is going down in Chicago while JB Pritzker is telling you it's all sunshine and rainbows. And even worse yet, more news was uncovered following this incident. Just like in Portland, where we discussed the Portland Police Department and how corrupt they very likely are, how they're literally doing nothing to stop Antifa in their own towns, and are even targeting conservative independent journalists like Nick Sortor, and also threatening regular civilians who are just trying to drive on their taxpayer-funded roads, probably to get to work or to a family member's house or their own home even. Those people are being threatened by police there. Not Antifa, though. Well, is it any different in Chicago? No. And even worse yet, we have proof of that. Following this incident, Chicago PD was notified of it. And I gotta say this, they may be ICE agents, but they're fellow law enforcement agents. Every Chicago police officer should have heard this call go across the radio and wanted to respond and wanted to get to the scene to keep their fellow law enforcement officer brethren safe. Instead, what wound up happening was Chicago PD gave the order to stand down and not to interfere. And it's all been recorded. This was the actual call that came through. I have it right here.
All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending, waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Okay, 10-4. And again, for all the units that we called to go over that way, 39th Police in Kedzie, if you could just hold off 911, 913, 923, 924, 933, 934. Just disregard that. 39th Police in Kedzie.
And so, yeah, there you have it. Recorded undeniable evidence. Chicago PD was told to stand down and to not help ICE during this moment where a vicious woman, this is what she looked like. Her fictitious name that she goes by is L.A. Maggie, and she's apparently on record stating that she doxes ICE agents, finds out their identities, makes them public so that people can choose to target them. Gee, I wonder why a woman who looks like this would hate ICE. But yeah, the Chicago Police Department, it turns out, is almost no better than Portland. They're probably actually even worse, because I can't imagine a more despicable action than literally telling your police officers to not help other law enforcement agents. And that is why this police chief right here, the Chicago PD police chief, has seen a surprisingly large mounting amount of calls for his resignation following this. And you could say something like he was probably just following orders from Mayor Brandon Johnson, which could be very well true, but it doesn't change the fact that he should have known better. He's the police chief. He should have never given those orders, even if the mayor was telling him to. Following orders is not an excuse. It's reprehensible behavior, what we saw, and it makes me sick to know that the police departments for these major blue cities are super, super corrupt. And at this point, they're promoting wickedness. They're defending it, like in Portland. And again, it brings me back to the whole point of the importance sometimes of ruling with a heavy hand. Something that President Donald Trump is just a little bit soft on, in my opinion, but needs to tighten his grip on. Consequences need to be dealt, because when you don't have proper deterrence in place for behavior like this, it magnifies, it intensifies, it multiplies all of that. And so we've gone now from protests that have turned into riots, that have turned into militant domestic terrorist organizations like Antifa, lighting fires in the streets, throwing stuff at ICE agents, spray painting buildings, and now chasing ICE agents around in their vehicles, ramming their vehicles, and bringing guns out to try to fight them. And if you thought it stopped there, it doesn't. Kristi Noem went on Fox News to now state that there are even bounties being put out on ICE agents, anywhere between $2,000 to $10,000.
Indicates that these people are organized. They're getting more and more people on their team as far as attacking officers, and they're making plans to ambush them and to kill them. We have specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. They've released their pictures. They've sent them between their networks, and it's an extremely dangerous situation and unprecedented. So we've put protective detail around those individuals, change some of our operations to keep our officers safe. But make no mistake, this isn't just about, protesting free speech or that they don't like that people out here are upholding the law of our country. They're actually going out there and saying, kill these people and we'll give you this much money to do it.
It's disgusting, despicable news. How is somebody like Mayor Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, handling it, though? How's he handling all of this, in fact? Well, he came out this morning and decided to take some action. Let's see what he wound up doing.
Today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
6% approval rating, by the way, for Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago. But the Democrats will try and tell you that it's the Trump administration that's out of control, doing despicable things that nobody wants. 6% approval rating. I wonder why. And then they want to tell you, like J.B. Pritzker did on CNN, nobody's applauding Kristi Noem. Nobody's applauding ICE being there. Nobody's cheering for law and order here. Bullshit. Bullshit. So he takes executive action as a mayor against the president of the United States. ICE-free zones. Those are going to turn into Antifa and illegal immigrant breeding grounds, basically. Everything will just be festering there. Not to mention, those shouldn't be respected. These are domestic terrorists now, and he's harboring them. What will be done about this, though? Again, probably nothing. We have Attorney General Pam Bondi. She's probably busy pumping up, stuffing tissues in her chest to make herself look better on TV. Putting her makeup on, getting her lipstick done. She can't wait to grandstand against this on television and then do nothing about it. Oh, and by the way, then she likes to ride the coattails of the FBI arrest. Almost 5,000 arrests have been made since Trump got in. Drug dealers and blah, 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 blah. We don't give a shit. Listen, it's not that we don't care. I do care. That's great news. That's expected news. Pam Bondi has done nothing but make Trump look bad. Trump is too soft himself. I keep saying that on this video, but it's because I'm at my wit's end with these people, and I'm at my wit's end with all the crap happening across America. These Democrat-run cities are hellholes, full of crime, full of destruction, and full of leadership like this that are opposing the President of the United States and opposing the will of the people. That's what's so frustrating about it. More needs to be done. Like, for instance, this guy creating ICE-free zones. Why is he not in handcuffs? Why is the mayor not arrested for this? The mayor creating ICE-free zones. Just let that sink in. I want to see more. That's the bottom line here. The bottom line with this whole video, I want to see more. I want to see more. The stats out there for Portland, for instance, only something like 136 arrests have been made. And there are thousands of Antifa demonstrators out there causing havoc in the streets. It's embarrassing, actually, at how few arrests have been made. I want to see more. I know Trump is trying to operate within the bounds of, democracy, and he's called a fascist all the time. So it's almost like he has to be more careful, probably, or at least in his mind he does. But the thing is, we want law and order, and I want to see consequences for mayors like Brandon Johnson, for governors like Pritzker, and especially for Antifa members who are a domestic terrorist organization running havoc in the streets, free to do whatever they want, it seems, while citizens and journalists are targeted instead. And the whole root problem of this, at least in the short term, is the lack of consequences. Here's Mayor Brandon Johnson's official statement. Mayor Brandon Johnson signs ICE-free zone executive order prohibiting the use of city property for federal immigration operations. So yes, he is literally blocking ICE from being able to use or enter government buildings in Chicago. Federal law enforcement agents are being blocked from entering government buildings. In what world does that make sense? The statement goes on to say the directive expands Mayor Johnson's Protecting Chicago initiative. inviting community partners to participate in the work of safeguarding the inalienable rights of every Chicagoan. Today, Mayor Brandon Johnson signed the Ice-Free Zone Executive Order, which creates clear mechanisms to prohibit federal immigration agents from using any city-owned property in their ongoing operations in Chicago. The order expands upon Mayor Johnson's Protecting Chicago initiative, inviting local businesses and community organizations to join the citywide effort to safeguard our communities while advancing measures to rein in the reckless behavior of federal immigration agents. We will not tolerate ICE agents violating our residents' constitutional rights, nor will we allow the federal government to disregard our local authority. Meanwhile, here are those statistics on Chicago since J.B. Pritzker became governor of Illinois. Just like I promised you at the beginning here, I posted this on my X page, American Advocates. You should absolutely go follow it at American_Advo, ADVO. J.B. Pritzker took office January 14th, 2019. Since he took office, there have been 3,567 total homicides, non-fatal shootings, 14,834 of those, and then 18,108 total shooting victims. That was since 2019. That's been 6 years. And he wants to tell you on TV that it's all sunshine and rainbows there and the federal government is not needed. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments down below. Is J.B. Pritzker the one full of shit here, or is the Trump administration overstepping their bounds? Tell me what you think. Be sure to give this video a like, and thanks for watching. On to the next segment now, though. This is the Virginia State Attorney General candidate hopeful. He's a Democrat, and his name is Jay Jones.
Hi. I'm Jay Jones, Democrat running for Attorney General of Virginia, and we're going to talk about public safety. As the son of prosecutors and the father of 2 young boys, I've always believed that keeping our communities safe is the most important responsibility of any Virginia leader. That's why, as a delegate, I increased public safety funding by more than 20%, ensuring that law enforcement and our first responders have the resources and training they need to succeed. I also sponsored bipartisan laws to strengthen penalties for sex offenders, keep kids safe in schools, and establish programs to stop gangs like MS-13 in their tracks. Then as an assistant attorney general, I took on the gun lobby and helped get illegal guns off of our streets. And this week, I'm releasing my public safety plan. As attorney general, I'll focus the office on stopping violent crime, supporting victims, and protecting our kids.
I'm just going to pause that real quick because I want you to take note of a few things. First and foremost, he talks about gun violence, right? So take note of that because that'll be important in just a few minutes here in this video. Secondly, take note of the fact that he talks about protecting our community and protecting our children a lot, okay? Take note of that as well. He's big on family and anti-gun stuff. So take note of that, and then I'll finish letting him introduce himself to you guys.
Not the MAGA extremism we're getting from Jason Miyares. Here's how we're going to do it. First, I'll combat violent crime by ensuring local law enforcement agencies can solve crimes and bring offenders to justice. We'll create a drug trafficking unit and work with our neighboring states to stop fentanyl trafficking. And we'll support community-based treatment and crisis response programs so people who need help get the treatment they need instead of ending up in jail. Next, I'll get illegal guns off of our streets by increasing interagency cooperation to target illegal guns. We'll hold gun manufacturers accountable for the damage their weapons cause and use settlement money and other federal resources to expand violence interruption programs that actually target the root causes of gun violence. Finally, I'll make the Attorney General's office a leader in protecting Virginia's children. I'll boost resources to fight domestic violence and child abuse, step up efforts to fight trafficking, and crack down on the social media companies violating privacy laws and taking advantage of our kids to increase their profits. My North Star is creating safer communities for my kids and for yours. And as Virginia's next Attorney General, I'm ready to deliver just that.
Wow, what a great speech. If you're a Democrat, you're probably fawning over that. All of that just sounds so wonderful if you're an 80 IQ liberal, doesn't it? But this guy's hypocrisy knows no ends. Over the weekend, once again, his text messages were exposed. And everything that he stands for in this video, pure bullshit. On top of that, he was exposed in a way where, in all honesty, borderline criminal. Take a look at these text messages. I have them. The blue is not him. The gray is. The blue is the person responding to him, who you can see is clearly startled. The text message thread starts off top left here. You weren't simply asking questions and you know it. Jay responds, I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. The blue responds, you weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. He responds, yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. You see some responses here. There isn't. I point blank asked you more than 3 times and you dug in that you meant it. I honestly am questioning you a lot today. He responds, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. And again, take note of the words being used here, fascists. They love calling us fascists, don't they? You can see from this text thread why. He's not kidding in this text thread, and I'm going to keep reading more here. He's not joking. Another part of the text thread says, again, the person in blue responding, they say nice things about everyone. He responds, if those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves. Send them out awash in something. The guy in blue, his friend or whoever, just responds with his name. He says, Jay Jones. Now, keep in mind, he's talking about if his political rival dies before him, their family dies even, he would go and piss on their graves. This is somebody who wants to be the Virginia State Attorney General, a Democrat Attorney General, who is running with a future Democrat candidate hopeful for governor of Virginia, Abigail. We're going to cover her as well. And he's using language like this in text. After the person is shocked and calls him out by name and says, Jay Jones, he responds, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets. Gilbert is the last name of his political rival, mind you. He says Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. At this point, the person responds, Jay, please stop. And he says, LOL, okay, okay. To which you can then see this guy who he's talking to responds, it really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. You can see how devastating it was to the Democrats of Virginia State when these text messages were released. I mean, this is shocking and appalling, and I can't emphasize enough the fact that he used the term. He's calling his rivals fascists. This is why Democrats do that. There have been posts made about this already and videos made about this already, but that is the dehumanization tactics that they use to encourage violence towards their political rivals. And the problem is some people will use these terms and start buying it themselves to the point where they decide to take action. He doesn't look like the most mentally stable person, if you ask me. And his hypocrisy is just on full display. He is always giving speeches about family and protecting children in Virginia. And gun violence is terrible. We got to stop gun violence. And there he is in the texts talking about how he would shoot his political rival in the head twice, how he hopes his family and children die. It's all hypocritical. Look at this.
People always told me that your priorities come into focus when you become a parent. And my highest priority will always be the safety of our families.
You said, according to the article, I'm quoting, Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views. I can think of nothing more horrific than a mother having to hold her dying child. How can Virginians trust a man who said something so horrific, so callously?
Well, again, I am so deeply, deeply sorry for what I said, and I wish that it hadn't happened, and I would take it back if I could.
That highlights the hypocrisy pretty well right there. I always like those side-by-side videos like that because when it comes to Democrats putting what they've said in the past compared to what they say in the present, it always pokes at them and pokes holes into their phony, false facades that they put on display publicly. Privately, I would say 90% of them are just like this guy. They hate you, they hate their rivals, they hate conservatives, and they hate America. Now, you would at least assume to save face the Democrat Party as a whole would condemn this behavior and these actions in this text message, right? You would assume they'd put out a statement immediately saying this is reprehensible, despicable. We don't want him. We don't claim him as one of our own. We don't want him running for any office, attorney general or otherwise. He's done. You would assume that would be a statement made by the Democrats, right? Well, here's Virginia Beach Democrats, Virginia Beach, Virginia, that is, of course, turning Virginia blue, vbdemocrats.org for immediate release. Here's their statement. Let's take a look. The Virginia Beach Democratic Committee reaffirms its full support of Jay Jones for Attorney General. We are lined up 10 toes down, ready to organize, mobilize, and deliver voters for Jay and our entire Democrat ticket. Bear in mind, this statement was released October 4th after the text messages came out. This is what it's addressing. Recent press may have spotlighted past mistakes. We say, let those without sin cast the first stone. Oh, man. Jay Jones has taken responsibility, apologized, and shown he is committed to serving with integrity and accountability that his public record already shows. Virginians deserve a leader who earns, grows, and stands for everyday people, and Jay is that leader. Jay Jones is a stark contrast to Jason Miyares in every way. In his tenure, Miyares has failed to stand up for Virginia families, concerns, or values. He has not defended women's reproductive rights, workers' rights, or protected the hundreds of thousands of Virginians who are on the verge of losing access to their health care benefits and service providers. Yeah, but I bet you his private texts don't call for the destruction of his rival's entire political family via gun violence. I bet you he doesn't say stuff like, gee, I hope Jay Jones gets shot in the head twice. I hope his children die in his wife's arms. I bet you this Miyares guy's never said anything like that. The Virginia Beach Democratic Committee is calling on all Virginians to line up behind Jay Jones. Together in November, we will defend democracy and secure leadership in the Attorney General's office that truly serves all the people of Virginia. Hashtag 10 toes down for Jones. Hashtag Miyares, not our cup of tea. Statements like that are crucial to know about, to read, just so you can understand what the current modern day political climate in America looks like. We are now past the point. They have crossed the line when it came to Charlie Kirk being openly assassinated for simply using his free speech on college campuses. We saw the aftermath of that. I have a video on this channel, a 20-minute compilation of liberals on TikTok celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. You should absolutely check out that video because it's eye-opening. And statements like this are even more eye-opening. It's now happening not just at a voter level, not just at a despicable citizen level where people celebrate the death of conservatives. It is now happening on private text messages, of course, that were never meant to be released, obviously, but nevertheless occurred, took place. This is somebody trying to obtain a position of power in America who literally thinks that his conservative political opponent is a fascist who deserves to die for it, along with his children. And the Democrat Party backs him even more so, saying, oh, he apologized, that shows growth. Where's that philosophy, mind you, when they were coming after Trump for 4 years? Over bullshit, but nevertheless, in their minds, a justifiable cause. Has Trump not grown since he became president in 2016? They'd never acknowledged that. And when it comes to this, I mean, this is inexcusable and unforgivable when you're running for political office. To have called for the violence of your political opponent. Just for the sake of impact, this is the family that Jay Jones, future wannabe Democratic Attorney General of the state of Virginia, wants dead. He wants these children dead. He wants that man there being sworn in to be shot in the head twice. He literally stated in that text, if Hitler was there, he had 3 bullets, and this Gilbert guy, his opponent, was there, that he would dedicate 2 of the 3 bullets to Gilbert, his political opponent. And he wants these 2 boys to die in that mother's arms there. And the Democrat Party supports him. Now, this is the Democrat hopeful, the candidate for governor of Virginia, who I believe has hand-selected Jay Jones to be her attorney general should she become governor of Virginia. By the way, an election that I've seen is taking place relatively soon. Abigail Spanberger, another German that seems to really defy President Donald Trump too. Interesting. But what's her thoughts and opinions on Jay Jones' leaked text messages where he advocates for political violence, essentially, even if he is going to, of course, claim that he was joking? Surely, even though the Virginia Beach Democrat Committee won't disavow themselves from Jay Jones and actually support him wholeheartedly and double down, 10 toes down for Jones, according to them, surely this governor candidate, at the very least, will save face. She'll look at this as an absolute PR nightmare and disaster and go, yeah, that's inexcusable. Jay Jones is not going to be my attorney general anymore. I will find somebody else because I cannot support that, right? You would assume that's what you would say. Well, here's her official statement. After learning of these comments earlier today, I spoke frankly with Jay about my disgust with what he had said and texted. I made clear to Jay that he must fully take responsibility for his words. What I have also made clear is that as a candidate and as the next governor of our Commonwealth, I will always condemn violent language in politics. I mean, what are your thoughts on this statement? Does that seem good enough to you? Oh, I scolded him is basically what it is. I told him don't do that again. That's basically her statement. She hasn't stated publicly that she's going to pick someone else now for her attorney general spot should she win the governorship of Virginia. She didn't disavow him as a person. She didn't remove him from the running. She just stated, oh, I didn't like what he said. But then again, what else do you expect from somebody who's this much of a liberal progressive? Take a listen to this summary of just who Abigail Spanberger actually is.
At the end of the day, Abigail Spanberger wants there to be boys in girls' bathrooms and wants boys to be in girls' sports. And that's where she stands. And the reason why she cannot answer the question is because she knows where she is so objectionable to almost all Virginians. And therefore, she refuses to answer the question. The reality is that having men in girls' bathrooms and having biological males in girls' sports is unsafe. It's wrong, and it violates the dignity of women and girls. And that's what Virginians believe, and that's why she won't answer the question. Listen, this race is really clear. Last week, Trafalgar, who I believe is the best pollster in America, came out and said this race was now down to 5 points. It's tightened up hugely in the course of the last month because of the reality that people understand that Abigail Spanberger is a liberal left Democrat who doesn't believe anything that's consistent with Virginia values. And that's why this race is tightened up.
And he is not telling lies. First of all of those outdated Democrat talking points, she still very much stands for them. She is a liberal progressive who wants all of that crap that President Donald Trump has been actively undoing since he was sworn into office back in January. So of course, surprise, surprise, she publicly condemns the violent rhetoric that she heard about via these text messages that were released when it comes to Jay Jones, her future attorney general, should she win. She publicly condemns it, just like every other Democrat, but her actual stance on it is one of nonchalance. She doesn't actually care. Not really. I mean, let's be real. Jay Jones, she's exactly the kind of guy she wants to be attorney general because he's the ultimate DEI hire for her as a white woman running for governor of Virginia. So it's just politics. It's all just motive, virtue signaling, etc. That's all that it is. She's not going to disavow Jay Jones. She's going to continue her race for governor of Virginia with him by her side. But there are consequences for this. And like they said, the race is narrowing. Here's the actual data as of September 30th. I'd like to see updated data for this when it comes to the race now that the text messages have been released and Abigail won't distance herself from Jay Jones, but as of September 30th, she was only ahead of her conservative rival by +3, which is a margin of error at this point. Essentially, it could go either way. And now, with this controversy out there, I'm willing to bet that that gap is even closer. And they are literally, as of time of recording, they're 1 month away, I believe, from their election for governor of Virginia. So I would implore all Virginians to get out and vote, especially if you're conservative. Keep her out. Keep Jay Jones out. Do not let this guy become attorney general. Save your state. These midterm elections are so important, and Republicans and conservatives are notoriously awful at showing up to them. It's not just about getting the president in. In fact, in many ways, your local and state elections are far more important. They affect your everyday life, much more even, in a lot of cases, than voting in the president does. So get out and vote. The good news is even MSNBC can't stand behind Jay Jones anymore. Morning Joe Scarborough, even states that Jay Jones should drop out.
Coming up, an attorney general candidate in Virginia is apologizing for his texts about a state lawmaker. We'll go through what the messages said.
Probably be forced to withdraw from the race, and probably is doing a lot there.
All right, Morning Joe will be right back.
So there you have it. Even MSNBC is not behind this guy. And then finally, I'll leave you guys off with this after I tell you right now to subscribe to American Advocates. If you're a true American patriot, if you're a true America First supporter, this is the channel for you. However, if you have purple dye sitting on your bathroom sink right now and you have voted liberal your entire life, and you believe tampons should be in boys' bathrooms, then please dislike this video and never come back to this channel. But I want to leave you with this. This is now the new epic Virginia Republican ad campaign out there being played on TV for people after this whole Jay Jones incident. It's absolutely a masterpiece. And we need more Republican propaganda put out there like this. Take a listen. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below. It helps the video perform well in the algorithm. And stay tuned for more future content right here on American Advocates.
We start with breaking news from the campaign trail.
Jay Jones is under fire tonight.
Jay Jones is under fire.
Jay Jones is under fire after messages he sent in 2022 saying former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert should be shot.
I'm excited about this ticket.
It's been great to be out on the campaign trail with Jay Jones.
You said Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views.
We deserve an attorney general who will stand up for the people of Virginia.
Jones said, quote, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head.
Let your rage fuel you.
Jones doubled down, saying, quote, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes.
How can Virginians trust a man who said something so horrific, so callously?
Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy.